You live on the outskirts of a quiet rural county called Mulberry. Every day is simple, tending to your family's farm and trying to keep life moving as normal as possible. But normal stopped a long time ago. After a series of disturbing and unexplained events, the higher-ups enforced the 8 p.m. curfew. They said it would keep everyone safe, but it didn't. If anything, the nights have only gotten worse. Until all of a sudden, we figure out what happened. We start our day by grabbing a glass of water until the realization kicks in that we have chores to do. We have to take out the trash, feed the animals, and do our homework. Those chores should be easy unless we have the content creator brain. But just before we can get to our chores, someone ends up calling the phone. So we have no choice but to go answer it. It turns out to just be Benson, and he says that we're gonna pay you a visit later. Eventually we just end up hanging up as we're not interested in what Benson has to offer. We get started with our chores, starting with the trash, and while taking out the trash, a car rides by, but it ends up dropping some important papers, and we just pick them up. We make our way back inside and we stash the papers in our room. And ultimately we decided to do our homework, which I finished with flying colors. It seems like the homework is getting to us as now we've gotten pretty hungry. But we make our way downstairs to have some chips, but it's starting to get a bit late, so we should hurry to finish our homework. And while making our way back upstairs, the phone starts ringing again. But this time when we go down to answer it, the caller is just breathing until he says that we have a very nice house and then ends the call. But despite this, we still go back upstairs to finish our homework. Just before we are able to finish it though, something ends up breaking downstairs. And us being the smart person that we are, we decide to go and investigate. And we decide that cleaning up the mess would be for the best. Now with all the distractions gone, maybe we can finally finish our homework. And in natural fashion, we end up falling asleep right here on the desk. While sleeping, we have a dream conversation with someone, which got a little bit too personal, but I think we should just skip over this for obvious reasons. We are then showed a weird image. We are asked a bunch of weird questions, and then we are told that they can see us through the glass. I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean, but it doesn't sound too good. A 30-second countdown then starts happening, and before it subsides, we end up waking up. Once we awake, we are told to grab our flashlight, and we are told to grab our horse feed. After we grab the horse feed, we make our way downstairs and the doorbell starts ringing. And then we decide to answer the door. There's a stranger at the door who asks if he can come inside. Apparently his car broke down a while back and he's been looking for somebody to help. Yeah, sorry buddy, that's not gonna be me. As you could imagine, he really did not like that answer and bro ends up crashing out.
I don't care if this nigga head exploded, I would not let him inside, nigga.
And well, it may just be a coincidence, but that guy looked pretty familiar. We figured it must be Benson pulling our leg because that was his Halloween costume from last year. But there's no way that's Benson. I mean, his head literally exploded. This time we are truly able to get the horse feed and we make our way outside to feed the horses in the barn. But when we get to the barn, all the horses are gone. And now we have no choice but to look for them. And the first place we decide to check is the forest because all of the horses surely ran in the forest, right? And we end up following a large path until we make it all the way to the end. And at the end of the path, we found the horses just completely mutilated. We leave it up to it being the wolves, and then we decide that we should quickly head home because we're not supposed to be out after curfew. On the way back, we noticed that the door was open, and upon going inside, we see scratch marks all over the floor. And instead of leaving, we decide that searching the house would be the better idea. And after doing a bit of searching, we find nothing out of ordinary. And with nothing else to do, the curiosity gets the best of us, and we start wondering what's inside of the files. So we end up looking through the files and we end up finding a tape and a section where you can enter a passcode. We don't know the passcode, but we do decide to take the tape so that we can go and watch it. But when we go to insert the VHS tape, the TV won't turn on. But we're already in too deep and it would be a waste to give up at this point. So we decide to go and use the spare television. The only problem is that the spare television is in the basement. So we head inside of the basement and start going down the stairs. Once in the basement, we take a seat at the TV and insert the VHS tape. And the first thing to come on the TV is any person found guilty will be fined $500,000 or swiftly terminated just for viewing this footage. And you know, of course, we still decided to watch it anyway. And of course, they try to make it all friendly by showing us some animals. But as soon as we were about to see the cougars, we end up hearing a sound. So we turned away from the screen just for a second. But instead of deciding to check it out, we just continued to watch the footage. I guess we finally passed the point of no return because the footage starts getting weirder. I mean, we are told when we spot a humanoid, you are required to report as much information as you can over the emergency radio, and that we shouldn't return until you have successfully reported a humanoid or you will be sent back to prison. I wonder who this footage is directed towards. To help track humanoids, follow these clues. Scratches. Scratch marks can be used as a sign of a nearby humanoid. We saw scratches on the floor earlier. Eventually, we are told to go to sleep, and then an error plagues the TV. Real quick, I want to take this time to ask you to drop a like and also subscribe. These videos take a long time to make, so any support is greatly appreciated. Now let's get right back into the video. Instead of heeding the tape's warnings, we decided that we've had a long day and that we should go upstairs to get some sleep. And as soon as we get upstairs, we dive right into bed. While asleep, we dream about Henry's special day. On this day, Henry went camping. I'm gonna guess that this part took place in Utah, where Henry went to the Bear Lake. At the Bear Lake, Henry started recording, but his mom told him to put away the camera so that his dad could have space to film whatever he needed to film. Sometime later, they ended up going for a very long drive where they met Daryl, who is now friends with Henry's dad. Henry was able to film some things that Daryl said. Mom and dad talked with Daryl for a long time about what to do when we got to the Bear Lake. And at 8:03 p.m. we set up camp and roasted s'mores, but before long it was time for bed. Mom and dad had to stay up real late though. Here's a picture of our campsite. Henry's mom and dad ended up taking some pictures, but instead of normal pictures, these pictures were pretty disturbing. At 2 o'clock in the morning, Henry woke up to someone calling his name. His parents were asleep, so he took the new camera and started wandering through the woods. Eventually the voice stopped, so Henry put the camera down and waited for the voice to come back. But unfortunately for Henry, the voice is not who he thought it would be. Afterwards, Henry got bored and he got back into bed, but it seems like the voice that was calling Henry's name ended up following him home. And eventually you are forced to play a little flashlight game where you're supposed to stop the creature from getting inside, but it's too late. Then an incoming broadcast plays. Nigga, I don't want to see this, bro. Quit.
Ew, bro. Ew.
Quit, bro. Quit. Get a shot on the screen, bro, please. And for the first time throughout the entire broadcast, we are able to see his eyes. And then he shows us a picture of what appears to be our soul. And then he forces a Roblox crash. Once we wake up, the smoke detector is going off. And we decide that we can't sleep with it beeping like this. So now we have to investigate what could possibly be causing the smoke detector to go off. While investigating, we end up having to use the bathroom, but while using the bathroom we realize that someone else is inside of the house, and then we have to hide. We sit in the closet for what feels like hours until we finally notice someone emerging from the door. We are then forced to click the dots. After we finish, we come out of the closet and it looks like the monster finally left. We decide that we need to go find Chris, and once we step outside the bathroom, the whole entire house is on fire. But we make our way over to Chris's car, and Chris isn't inside of his car. Unfortunately, Chris has the keys, so we have to find him now. And while looking for any clues, we notice blood on the ground. And with no other leads, we decide to follow the blood on the ground all the way up until we make it to a maze. Then we get the objective to search the cornfield. Eventually, we end up searching through the entire cornfield until we finally make it to Chris. Chris seems to be injured, but he tells us not to worry about him and to just get to the car. But just before we can leave, the monster appears yet again. But this time, we don't hesitate to take off into a sprint. But unfortunately, Henry was not fast enough and he ended up falling. And with no other hope of survival, we just sit there and pray, hoping for anyone to save us. And then Chris shows up just in time, telling us to get in. And that's where chapter 1 of Mulberry County ends. I'm pretty sure chapter 2 is in development, so if you want me to play that, just spam in the comments, and when it comes out, I'll happily play it. But until next time, I guess I'm gonna catch you guys later.